This is Weird Renegade Witches Blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. I'm just going to get right to it because you already know that art is occultism. Occultism is an art. And you already know that Wayward is about that revenge, redemption, and responsibility. However, you also understand that monthly lessons have already started, but that is separate and different from the one-on-one that I do with individuals that I work closely with them, in addition to Spellwork, which is separate, and sometimes that go hand in hand. But I will say through this video, this is spirit gossip. However, it's about revenge and redemption, about certain things going on in the universal soul. I wanted to read some of the comments because I found some of them very interesting. That's why I said very much spirit gossip. I read in the last video, somebody was, I guess, trying to analyze and basically tell me that I speak in rhetorical because some of the things I'm talking about, am I asking a question or am I speaking in rhetorical? And I understand that some of you people out here have, that intellectual disabilities, and you guys tend to read more into stuff, or you're trying to sound like you're intellectual. Well, I don't want to really go into it because I don't feel like, being sued for, harassing people with disabilities who act retarded and shit and keep coming back with this energy. You might be was it mongoloid? We don't know. So we're just going to put that on the shelf where it sits, because we can't deal with that, and that's above my pay grade. I didn't go to school to deal with people with special needs like that, and more and more in this society, this is what we're getting. A lot of people with intellectual disabilities, aka retards and retarded ass people, and the more they speak, the more they sound retarded as fuck. But we need to kind of leave them alone and let them be where they are, because I understand in social media nowadays, we cannot decipher who these people are because they didn't mix them in with us, and we just don't know what's going on here. We're having children by them. We're watching them on television. We're watching people allegedly like Young Miami. There's some suspicion going on because she may have intellectual disabilities. We're watching people like Jennifer Hudson. We watching some white people with some intellectual disabilities, and we don't know what's going on. So we just kind of want to leave it where it is. And, and people, again, are mixing with mongoloid people, and we don't know what's going on. Even with Down syndrome people, have you guys noticed that we don't see Down syndrome people walking anymore in groups? Where are they? Are they breeding them somewhere? We don't know what's going on in this universal soul. All we know is that people are out here very interesting. Okay? Is that rhetorical? Here I go. And this is for your Thanksgiving that keeps on giving. Here we go. I hope I could read this right and see this, okay? There's an old group from the 90s called Kill Kill, and they made a song called Mama Dear, and they hung around Pac, meaning Tupac, and they continue to say they had a beef with Pac, claiming Pac stole the Dear Mama concept from them. I'm telling you about these people. Kill Kill sampled the Floaters Float On for Mama Dear. And Mama Dear, the same Floaters sample Pac used to make It Ain't Easy, while Pac sampled Joe's sample in My Wildest Dreams to make Dear Mama. In my last video, I talked about Tupac, that I believe that he didn't write a lot of his music, especially Dear Mama, because of the energies and his frequencies being Gemini. Okay, Geminis have a different frequency. And when I was listening to it, I said, he didn't write that. But that's a little spirit gossip somebody had in the comments. Here's some more spirit gossip that I found very interesting. Elected officials is kind of like how when people are about to be put in place for president, the media releases a list of who they basically believe to be appointed as soon as they take office. That word is what I call fire and air language, meaning appointed, not elected, but appointed. Okay, that means these people are not being elected as your principalities, as your government officials. They're being appointed. They're saying, hey, put them in there. This is who we want. Okay, because I'm going to tell you this much. You better watch that Indian guy that's supposed to be running for president. You better watch it. Better watch it. Watch the spell work. Trump is nothing but a front, because a lot of people want Trump back in office. Just watch the game. They are not going to elect. They will appoint. That's the spell work. I was having a conversation with a client whose son was diagnosed with autism, but all his symptoms could also just be from him getting over the trauma of having to wear a helmet and having surgeries for the first 2 years of his life. They have him in therapy and behavioral classes, which is very interesting, and stuff. I really want to know what the end game will be for having such a broad classification for these so-called mental disorders, and then training these kids in how to act after slapping diagnosis on them. You've already answered your question. That's the whole game of therapy, to train and slap these diagnoses on these kids and put them in categories, and they're not real. They're fake. It's on the same lines as, like, I have some people who are my clients who were diagnosed with ADHD, saying they have behavioral problems, and then had the children at the time on medication, and the kids were becoming sick. But then admittingly knowing that the kids had dyslexia, which is not ADHD or AD. Okay, so therefore they knew it, and then threatened the parents if they remove them off the medication, then they would take the kid away. But at the same time, the parents were up there collecting checks, because some of the stories I've heard, I said, wait a minute, how does a school diagnose the kid as ADHD, but already have it in the IEP that the child is having learning disabilities? Learning disabilities are separate and different from behavioral problems, okay? Because a person who has behavioral problems doesn't mean they have dyslexia or a learning disability. Okay, so they've been out here diagnosing people with these fake ass diagnoses to put them in category and subcultures, plain and simple, and then have them under this CIA frequency where they condition them and mount different frequencies on them, because a lot of psychologists are actually part of the CIA, if you don't motherfucking understand. Just recently, I was talking to my son, about esteem and stuff like that. And I was telling him that when you have allegedly a learning disability, after you graduate from high school, they'll make you go take some kind of mental test and then turn around and say that you're not going to be nothing but working at Goodwill. So my son said, Mom, do you understand that they have found that it wasn't only connected to people who had learning disabilities, they were doing that to Black people. I said, excuse me? He said, yeah, people around boomers and Generation X time, he said they would tell them to go get tested and then diagnose them and say that they need to go work at some subpar position. And then apparently all those people that they, or the majority of those people that they told that to, which are Black people, end up being successful in their life. So the ones that listened to that bullshit probably really thought that I'm not going to be successful. This is what's going on with me. I cannot be, or I can't get whatever help that I need to be. So we got to be careful of the universal soul and these people out here, because they're creating falsehoods and false diagnosis, which is a form of spell work. See, some of you people, again, have intellectual disability, so everything is practical, but you don't understand that is scientific, and science is a religion. So therefore, within that religion, they practice the white supremacy, racism, and frequencies to say, hey, this is what's going on with you. This is the spirit of religion and white supremacy. White supremacy is a religion. Science is a religion that equates to racism, because they use science to equate who we are as Black people. And they keep reinventing the wheel of who we are. And then they sit up, do all this stuff in a science lab. They'll do all this subculture of science work where they have us like rats and doing all of these what I say, like research. Like, what is the reason of having all these hidden children? A lot of it is research. Okay, it's kind of like UCSF in San Francisco, the learning hospital. You have to understand what a learning hospital is. They learned on melanated people. It's not only Black people, but of course it was the Latino people. They did a whole bunch of scientific shit on Puerto Ricans. They had them with syphilis, chlamydia. They put fucking monkeys over there and had them infected the monkeys with syphilis, injected that, wanted them to bite the fuck out the Puerto Ricans. They did all type of shit. We're not going to talk about what they did in Mexico, Central and South America. Okay? So we have to understand what the fuck is going on in this frequency, right? You know what's very interesting? I'm going to get to it. We really need to go back and get the unedited version of Goodbye Uncle Tom. That movie was very interesting. And they used Haitian actors trying to say they were African actors, like they couldn't get Africa. But in reality, it was Haitians. That's how they did the Haitians. That's what they did on the Caribbean islands during the time of kidnapping. I mean, let's look at it for what it is. But Goodbye Uncle Tom tells you about the breeding, about the trafficking, about when you seen the man who was retarded and they forced the woman to have sex with him not being equipped. This is the shit that they do. Okay? Blueface mom had basically bulldozed her way to Krishan to see her grandchild. She probably had the same question as us and wanted to know, is the baby real? As demonic as Blueface mother is with her incestuous / lesbian / we don't know ass, I believe that too, because she probably smelled cap. Concerning the White House reminds me of this movie called Olympus Has Fallen. Let's look at that movie. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to get to some of the comments that, I found interesting. I find all you guys' comments interesting. Don't think because I don't put a heart next to it that I don't read. I read, I look. Anyway, cyber magic. Literally, in this universal soul, we are being punked, catfish, metaversed, cyber magic, cyber psychology, cyber bullied, cyber faked, and more. We as Black people are being used as judge and jury, and we're not even fucking being paid. They're sitting in their world looking at us and laughing as we are lab rats. Literally, as Black people, we watch, we mimic, we copy, we lay down, we adopt, we condone behaviors that we see. Okay? They show us shit right in front of our face and we don't do nothing. We have let a breed of subcultured individuals take over, and they have no wisdom, no custom, no culture, no understanding. They are reaching and looking and reinventing the culture, or want to reinvent a time. Okay? Are we going to talk about later millennials? Are we going to talk about Gen Zs? Are we going to talk about the world? Are we going to talk about how they used this mentality of people to conquer Black people even more? They quieted down a certain culture of people, but maybe we should go back and reinvestigate what is really going on, and how there were certain breeding grounds, there were certain gatekeeping, there was certain grooming. Maybe there's things we don't see. Just like, again, I was talking about Celebrity Square, which is AKA Hollywood Square. They're telling us they're celebrities, not Hollywood, because there isn't any more Hollywood. They're telling us these people are celebrities. Sukahana and all of that shit are not celebrities. And what's that dude from Wild 'N Out, and his girlfriend recently died? So now you understand what the fuck that was about, right? All right. But let's talk about, some of these frequencies that we're looking at in cyber magic and social media. And they're bringing up even old things that we need to question and talk about. What the fuck is going on in Washington, DC, where there's this 16-year-old lesbian girl? Let's talk raw and let's talk right. There's this lesbian girl, very butchy like, talking about the Z Money movement and having a million march to drop out of school in Washington DC, and it's called it's called Z List or Zmoney.com. And I was listening to some of the frequencies to cyber magic, and it said time to hit a lick with a hit we hit. And the alleged energy that they're talking about is that teachers are not showing up to school to teach the kids, so kids don't attend school because there's nothing there. Do you understand that was intentional? And that was on purpose. You took art out of school. You took education out of school. You took good teachers out of school. You misinformed teachers. Teachers don't know how to deal with these new breed of crack and heroin and crystal meth babies. They don't know how to deal with this. These are new breed of kids. They don't know how to deal with Generation Next kids. They don't know how to, meaning from Generation X, they don't know how to deal with early millennial kids. These kids are bad as fuck, and they talk back and they're disrespectful. They say a lot of shit that's inappropriate. They don't know the difference to shut the fuck up. They want to tell you what it is. They want to keep letting you have it. And then they're volatile. They want to kill, steal, and murder. They want to rob you. This is what the fuck it is. This is what's going on in the universal soul. And the bottom line is that us as parents, we're like, okay, how do we deal with this? Because our kids are raised in the media. Furthermore, due to drug usage and certain frequencies, some of these kids don't have fucking parents. Some of these kids raised themselves. Some of these kids was in foster and group homes, and more. A lot of them are runaways. Furthermore, we don't know where some of these fucking kids come from in the system because they were in the system. These are breeded children. They're all in confusion. Anytime I see something called Z Money and it's a whole strong lesbian girl, there's a problem. We have to start talking about this. Nobody's saying it's wrong or right, but I know there's something wrong with this, and I need to understand what type of spell work is this. I was listening on social media to this young girl who's 20, who's a ballerina. Okay. And she was talking about in her class, those young ladies, and these are elementary age young girls, they were giving her that work, that business, and saying, we don't have to listen to you, and talking big shit. When in the fuck did black kids started to act like white kids? White kids have always been disrespectful towards their parents. They've always been disruptive, and they've always talked shit back to their parents without discipline. When did black people start to listen to the system of how to raise their kids? Oh, maybe because their kids went to school, listened to what the fuck the white society and the CIA perspective told them to tell on your fucking parents. Their black asses went and told their fucking parents, so then their parents get caught up and then have to wear fucking ankle bracelets. You don't get your fucking kid back, your kid out there willy-nilly. Then your fucking parents went and got on them good drugs, then wasn't parents anymore, then your black asses got taken away from them and put in the system. Or go live with a fucking auntie, uncle in them, and you don't know about them, then they're up there sexually assaulting you, verbally and physically abusing you, doing all type of stuff. Because the more that a child doesn't have protection, the more people will harm them and do fucked up ass shit to them. And that is the real deal. Okay, so we need to stop fucking playing right now. And this whole Z Money Million Man School March need to be put to fucking sleep. That is not the voice of the future, and that is not the voice of the generation. They are contributing to what the fuck these secret ass conferences and seminars and summits that's going on behind closed doors of motherfuckers up there talking about the black community, especially black teens, are enemy number one. Stop this fucking bullshit. Gotta draw the fucking line. My question is this. Who in the fuck are these people? Did you see that fucking Sweet 16 with fucking ASAP Rocky on it at the fucking party? Excuse me? How long has he been around? Who does he belong to? Who's his mother? Who in the fuck is his father? Who groomed him? Who molded him? Who branded him? Who backs him up that he's on Sweet 16? Stop playing with me. Just like that Tiana Taylor. Just stop playing. I need things to stop. I was minding my business. I really started to look at religion, and I looked at these Orishas very closely. And when I looked at these Orishas very closely, I found out they look Indian. They look like some of the deities from India, and then some of the garb, when you look at a lot of the frequency, look like Indians, like Native American Indians. Is that what Orishas really are? Do you Nigerians really know? You don't know shit. You don't know where any of this shit comes from, do you? We don't know nothing. There's a lot of shit going on. And there's a lot of stuff that's ass backwards and is dealing with time. We have black Christians out here talking about don't celebrate Christmas. And they're running around here talking about fucking Christmas trees. I'm going to say, do what the fuck you want to do. Because I used to get on that bandwagon to do what the fuck you want to do. How in the hell you going to tell people, don't mess with the Christmas tree because it means this and it means that. But what does that have to do with you? Maybe you need to fuck around with the Christmas tree. Maybe you need to get your ass a big ass Christmas tree, put some fucking lights on it, do some fucking spell work and get you some fucking money and ownership in business. Because when black people fucked around with Christmas, they had wealth, prosperity, income, and money was flowing through the community, and they had morality and ethics. When black people celebrated fucking Thanksgiving, they had more of a family unity. Soon as you niggas got caught up under that spell work of conscious community, you broke everything apart. And you've been lost ever since. You have youth out here talking about, I don't understand why my grandmother went to church and she didn't gain anything out of it. She didn't get this out of it. Well, nigga, you still alive. She was praying for your black ass. That's why she went to church, you damn fool. Anyway, time. As soon as Halloween was over, they were already into Christmas. That's throwing off time. They're fast tracking time. They're fast tracking your life. Cyber magic has helped to fast track your life and tell you what to celebrate, what to buy, when to buy it, how to live. It is not fucking even Thanksgiving yet. There is a reason why we have different times that flow. Fuck all this other bullshit. We have different times that flow. During this time, I shouldn't see Christmas lights. During this time, I shouldn't see white people dressed in pajamas with fucking Christmas trees on it. During this time, I should not see, as they call it, Black Friday. And ever since this pandemic, they've really been forcing and fast tracking energies. You control your energies. You do things on your time. You do things the right way. Because everything is spell work. Because we're under the frequencies of cyber magic. Cyber magic is a frequency that it flows. It's like velocity. And they're fast tracking our frequencies in velocity form. But black people don't understand rituals, right? Everything is fast tracked. The halftime show at the Super Bowl is fast tracked. In July, I should know that Usher is going to perform. I was telling someone, I remember the halftime shows. They never told us who in the hell was going to perform. You look at the fucking Super Bowl because in San Francisco, you know the 49ers was going every motherfucking year. And my brother will have Super Bowl parties. So I'll go over there. Then next thing you know, you got Aerosmith. Oh, what? Journey, whoever. It was like a surprise. What is this that they need to tell us? Fast tracking. They're already telling us who in the fuck is going to be at the Met Gala. We don't give a fuck. They're going to be asleep anyway because it's the frequencies of Sleeping Beauty. They must got them on that powder, allegedly. Time. Steph Curry from the Warriors basketball team. He and his wife filed for divorce. They broke up. They were gone. I recently seen something where they talking about their love is stronger than that. Wait a minute, but you just said over here you were getting divorced. When did y'all get back? What? Are they confusing time? Are they still around? What the fuck are we looking at? James was his James Harden, the basketball player. He was missing for 10 days. When the fuck was he? My kids was trying to tell me his mother was sickly and he left. I said, from what I'm getting out of it, they're dropping lugs like his ass got a reset. And he couldn't play. Klay Thompson of the Warriors. I was listening to my sons. They said he booty this year. I was listening to him talk. Did he get a reset? Time. But let me say this, Draymond Green, even though his ass is glitchy, they sit up and mount certain beasts on these men to play and be and box and more. Then when they act out in it, now you want to suspend a nigga? We all know Draymond Green of the Warriors cuss the fuck up. He will fight you. But shit, if you want a homie that'll back you up, you make sure you call Draymond Green. But you can't sit up and mount all this shit on these people and don't think they're going to be a beast. Just like with Mike Tyson. They mounted the beast energy on top of him. He will go in and fuck people up. Time. Time. Why are we not thinking? We were talking about Remy Ma and how she went to jail. And this is all allegedly, but let's just have a conversation, right? I said, Remy Ma is a Gemini. Gemini is usually off the bat don't go to violence. That doesn't come till later. And I said, who did she go to jail for? Time. Who did she go to jail for? And she took that time and she not speaking on it. And now that she did her time, she gets honored in hip hop and all this stuff, and she gets the rap battles and all of that. Time. And we were talking and I said, hey, did you ever hear that interview with Mike Tyson? And they were like, wait a minute, what? I said, do you remember about a year or two back when Mike Tyson was talking too much, being a cancer? But didn't even know what he was really saying because, cancers can run their fucking mouth and don't even know that they catching everybody up. Fat Joe told a story of going to Mike Tyson's house, right? And I think Fat Joe started the conversation first. They were at some kind of podcast. See, these podcasts getting y'all niggas caught up. Y'all fucking around with social media, getting caught up because social media then sat up and caught up many black people, losing jobs and all. Every time you look, a motherfucker's putting out their camera, just like they did this whole social media, people working graveyard shifts and recording them, falling asleep on the job. Then you wondering why they up here trying to create robots to take your fucking job. Because you got motherfuckers recording shit and putting it on social media. People out here tired, but it doesn't mean that they're not hard workers. Okay? You motherfuckers are the ones who got people caught up because they be at the self-checkout handling their business. Now motherfuckers gonna get a call from the police talking about that they didn't stole because they didn't add an item. People People out here be trying to be illegal as fuck, and you didn't put it on social media dropping lugs because some governmental energy then put that forth. But meanwhile, the same motherfuckers that created that type of media are the same motherfuckers that are going to go underground and recreate a new subculture of crime waves. But they want to make sure niggas are in line. So they put anything that's criminal and whatsoever on social media. Period. So anyway, let me go back. Mike Tyson said something very interesting. Anyway, Fat Joe said they went to Mike Tyson's house. Mike Tyson had naked women everywhere, and he was naked. However, he had Remy Ma with him. No, he had Remy Ma with him, but then Mike Tyson ended up talking about it even more. But the whole energy was that Mike Tyson asked Fat Joe, could he have Remy Ma? How come we just never ask questions? I talked about this before. And Fat Joe was looking real interesting. Like, okay. I said, okay, he acting like a Leo because he knows Mike Tyson is saying too much, right? Because, you know, Leos do that like, oh, shit, fucking mom, and me not saying nothing. So then it made me loop back to the shooting. And I told the person, I said, how did we know that wasn't pimping and pandering, pimps up, hoes down kind of frequency? That this person didn't have the money and they had to be dealt with. Isn't that on the same lines as Young Miami and JT asked her about the interview with Black China, and Young Miami said she didn't like that interview with Black China. And when I seen just that tad bit of it, I said, what does Young Miami know about Black China? And she knows that Black China on straight cap. Is it the fact that Black China was running them girls and we forgot that time that white girl ran out of the damn hotel room trying to get the fuck away from Black China because Black China was high as fuck? How do we forget about all that? And then the media tried to clean her up to make us forget time. To make us forget that white girl ran up out that hotel room. Just like who is that, Melly Mel or whoever that was, got caught up at that Los Angeles during the BET Awards, whatever, and the prostitute got bopped up and they arrested his ass. It was hella prostitution going on at the BET Awards. When you seen it behind the scenes, sometimes follow bloggers. Fuck what they show you in the media. Go to the bloggers, and when the bloggers go to these shows, you will see the real shit. Because I was nosying around and I was like, what? And the blogger was following people around. All you see was a whole bunch of prostitutes at the BET Awards. So if we go back in time and reevaluate the energies at the energies were with Remy Ma, it'll make you think. Time. Stop playing with these people, right? Time. Go back to the neo-soul era. I remember pastors were warning us about the neo-soul. And there were certain hubs for neo-soul: Philadelphia, New York, and DC. and Maryland. And a lot of them were coming out of Philadelphia. I went back and I went to understand why did the pastors say stop listening to neo soul. I reevaluated it. It was demonic. It was demonic because we were hearing a whole bunch of broken, molested, physically, verbally, mentally abused individuals. We were listening to their music. I had to ask permission, and I wanted to make sure respectfully to ask permission to talk about two of my clients in a situation that they're going through together. And I work very closely with my clients. A situation, one has a home in DC. This particular home, there's a part of it that's a carriage house. The carriage house was built in the 1800s. So we're going to understand there's spirits in that house that are that old. Near Capitol Hill, Black woman, right? There was an energy for another person. I'm like, hey, I have another person in DC that need a place. Okay? Just to say all of that. The spirits are rooted some energies. The person is originally from New York and then transferred into DC. I work with her. And matter of fact, she was on my Blogtalkradio. We don't understand there's different degrees of even sexual assault. And we're playing around and not understanding these sexual assaults that's happening. When I originally was dealing with her, I kept trying to get the frequency out of her and she kept trying to avoid it. These new forms of psychologists don't know how to deal with these severe molestations. That's why you have a lot of the CIA coming in as psychologists, because they dealt with dissociative disorder, but they under Google daggers, they have changed the frequencies and truth of dissociative disorder. But the CIA know how to come in to treat these individuals because they are the ones that have created the grooming and the trafficking behind it. I'm going to say allegedly. Allegedly. They know what it is. This young woman, father is from Brooklyn, who know all them niggas. Puff Daddy, African Bambaataa, all them niggas. Mother too, all of them. The young woman was severely sexually assaulted. If she was to go speak to a psychologist, they will only talk to the one part of her that's surface and then prescribe medication to say she has depression, anxiety, bipolarism because of her behavior, but not understanding the trauma is causing the mental illness. She moves into the house. Some energies went on. The person who owns the house and said, hey, I want to show you some frequencies. Before that person showed me the frequencies, I wanted to talk to her first because I wanted to see it from her perspective, like what the fuck is going on here before she shows me what's going on. The person, what she did was she showed me a piece of what stuff is. I'm like, okay. When the person who owns the energy came to the place, she showed me the truth. I was like, what the fuck? And the person from New York put holes in the wall. There was, I'm not tripping on the soot because I knew the soot was from the candles. But the aesthetic of the house, it was very clear on the wall, like she took glass, I won't say allegedly, and like threw something, like splatter of alcohol. Going to the bathroom, that told a story. Went into the kitchen, that told a story. Went into this other room, and the room had her altar in it. But the direction was the wall that had burnt marks on it. And the person said, I believe this is burnt mark because the handyman also confirmed it. I'm like, huh? I don't know this person that would do this. What? Then the person was telling me the handyman was at her altar. What the fuck are you doing at her altar? That's why people don't need to be at your altar. And you got to be careful fucking around. Because the type of frequency that was going on in that house was a sick house, and that was a possessed house. That the person ended up taking sick later on with vomiting and diarrhea. That's how wicked that house was. But that was a house that a sick person, was living in who was severely molested. So I've seen the dynamics of what this is. At the end of the day, I tried to explain to the person, but the person's like, look, I ain't trying to hear this shit. And I don't blame her. But when I hit the person, my other person, who has severely been molested, and I went through each energies, because this is a process. I said, psychologists can't handle this. They don't know what to do with this. They want to play games with you and lock it and give you medication. They want to handle it in increments. They'll say she has multiple personalities. She's just a sick, evil person. But there's certain things that cause trauma and anger. Most haters have trauma. And I asked her, because she originally denied burning the wall. And I asked her again a week later. She admitted it, but her behavior as she responded was very interesting. And now we're getting into the root. And more I was listening to her, I said, she don't know why she fucking did it. But I can understand there's trauma, strong trauma that's trying to be strongly avoided, that needs to be taken care of. And there's a lot of revenge and redemption. But the number one thing is we have to go through the process of detoxing that house, handling the spirits in the house, and handling her, the entity. She's the entity. Do you understand? And I said this to people. When someone is severely molested, they will fuck you up with some spell work. They're pulling from a whole different energy that I'm not going to get into because it's none of your business. You got to pay me for that one. These psychiatrists don't know how to deal with that. These psychologists don't know how to deal with that. These life coaches don't know how to deal with this. No social worker know how to deal with this. This is on the same line as behavioral, because I'm going to get into something. You have neo soul with a whole bunch of people who comes from a sick house, who burn black and miles on walls. When you open up the refrigerator, there's a whole bunch of rotten food. You want to talk neo soul and a sick house? And you listening to this person and you don't know what's behind the scenes? Dr. Umar Johnson. He won't even admit he has a sick house. I know I had a sick house. I was getting my ass kicked and I had a sick house that an elder had to put me in check. My brother, he was like, what's going on with you? You keep a hard house. What's going on? Because I'm sick in the head. I got trauma. And it's coming out. That's a whole other energy. To break down of people's sicknesses, of what is the sickness is what is in their house. It's more than hoarding. And that's a whole spell work and frequency and position. Fuck all them hoarding shows. Fuck all of that. Because there's some real motherfucking shit. When I seen that man that they call Dr. Umar Johnson and he did that flip screen behind him, I said, that nigga's sick. He has great points, but that nigga's sick. He's been allegedly molested. He has a mental disorder. Conscious community equals neo soul. Period. People like Dr. Umar Johnson equals neo soul. You listening to Jaguar Wright, and she's part of the witchery of neo soul, of what the pastors are talking about. This woman telling you she's from Philly. I don't believe she's from no Philadelphia. I think she's from Maryland. She sounds like it. I used to listen to her like, oh, whatever. But as more and more as I'm listening to her, I said, she full of shit. She know exactly what's going on. As much time and nosiness and information that she has on every motherfucker, her career should have went better. That's a lot of investment and time. She know everything about every motherfucker. And I'm going to say it this way. That's the price you pay to be for fame. That's the price. So why are we acting like we don't understand the price? She married, she did that, he did, I'm not big and puffy, and that's the price. You wanted it. So don't go back into the archives. These people going back in the archives. But it's clear she was assaulted. When you go back and listen to Music Soul Child, he was assaulted. Let's go back and listen to Andre 3000 right now. He up there playing flute music so he can have you guys under hypnosis and frequencies. That's air magic. He's a fucking Gemini. Of course he's playing a fucking flute and air music. And you niggas gonna listen to it and y'all gonna be walking like zombies. They always trying to create black people to be calm and docile. Y'all didn't set up and listen to all that frequency music and Hindu shit and bells and chimes, and you niggas out here as weak as fuck. You didn't went under the medicine. You under spell work. I started even peeping these people, these entertainers that having all these young babies and Asian babies. Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. The fuck is that? What did y'all do? What are you connected to? And most of the time it's something dealing with kids and trafficking. Y'all think Puff Daddy wasn't trafficked and molested and groomed? Stop playing. The situation of what I'm going through right now connects to somebody forwarding me Hassan Campbell. He was going to fuck off. And I believe in his area called Bronx Rivers. I was listening to what he was saying. And he was yelling. He was angry. He was... I don't even know what else to say. I said, he is just full of trauma. He is in pain and revenge and redemption and responsibility. Fuck accountability. And if you listen to what the fuck he says, a lot of shit makes sense because it happened to him. When he says gazy ass shit, it all makes sense. But when I was listening to the way he was going off and he was talking about Cassie receiving that alleged money from Puff Daddy, he said, then where is our money from African Bambaataa? How he molested all these boys of various ages, and he included some girls, but he said he molested all of these boys. That man not lying. That man not crazy. Why? I mean, it made me think about, who? Oh, goodness. Well, number one, it made me kind of think about Kim Porter. I said to myself, he's right. How in the fuck is Kim Porter? Wait a minute. Kim Porter family sued Puff Daddy and lost. And the nanny sued and lost, and their suit was valid. What the fuck is that about? It made me think about how I'll Be Sure sold Quincy to Puff Daddy. What the fuck Quincy not saying that he up there, they have him all made up like Frida. These guys were sexually assaulted. If you listen to him, he's mentioning Africa. He's saying over and over. And more, it makes me believe African Bambaataa was a gatekeeper. He was a groomer. And he was set up by government to groom and go in the hood and molest these boys that incorporates Dr. York. Are y'all going to sit up and tell me Jay-Z is not groomed? You going to tell me Puff Daddy's not groomed? These niggas out here groomed. All of them. And the strong hub of grooming was DC, Philadelphia, Maryland, and New York. I'm just talking in this frequency. I'm not talking about everywhere else. Because the next grooming system is foster care, group home, and adoption. But we're talking about this right here, which created Neo Soul. Are you telling me MC Shan wasn't groomed? Are you telling me Keith Murray wasn't groomed? That is severe. And these psychologists don't know how to deal with them. We have a whole black generation fucked up. Boomers, Generation X, now is leading to this. That's what creates what we have in front of us right now. Hassan Campbell is a spooky, scary black man that a black woman will get with him. He will appear normal, and that nigga will snap the fuck off on you. And listen to him, he want to be heard. He wants people to understand this is what the fuck is going on out here. These people out here molesting motherfuckers. And he's, in a way, he's saying, Zulu Nation, what you part of? All these niggas was under this energy of Dr. York, and we're giving too much power to Dr. York. Because it's the same thing like Jim Jones. These people are orchestrated individuals that are government-based. These people help to groom black men in confusion and then create music behind it. He is absolutely right. They deserve financial energies for the grooming and gatekeeping that happened to them. You so mad at Puff Daddy. Yeah, I don't like him because he did it. And yeah, but he's just another black male that they have put to the side. That's the price of the business. If he take your fucking money, you want to be a star, you want fame, so the fuck what? Don't get mad now because you were groomed and you desperate and he fed off your trauma. Trauma feeds off of trauma. The sister that I work with, can you imagine? I'm going to keep it real. Dating her, she appears as normal, but get triggered, and bitch may burn a fucking cigar on your head. Keep fucking around. We got to get to the root. No psychologist, no motherfuckers can handle this. This is getting to the root. They pick and choose who they hold people responsible. No, they don't want to deal with what the fuck Hassan Campbell talking about. Because you will see all of these motherfuckers being molested and severely sexually assaulted. That's why it's so easy for them to be sold. Do you understand the price of men ass has gone up and women pussy has gone down? That they want men. And they want black men. And you have grooming men who've been groomed selling them. All them fucking rappers. All of them, all of them, all of them, all of them. Take away your family dynamic. Now, if you make a choice on your own and you do what you do, that's what it is. We have to understand that's the price of fame. We can continuously sit up here and talk about Hollywood. So what? That's the price of fame. I told somebody the most eeriest story is Marilyn Monroe. I was telling people about June Mack. Because people out here making up stories. And then they said she looks like T.S. Madison, doesn't she? Doesn't she? Makes you wonder where T.S. Madison really got his frequencies from, right? And even that, grooming and gatekeeping. He said rape culture. What I told someone, every word that they're censoring on social media, they are reinventing the word and bringing it back. Just like I was telling somebody, I said, they censored faggot. They censored sissy. Now they are bringing it back, reinventing it again because of time. We didn't forgot. So now you have someone like Saucy Santana talking about faggot. What? That's all they're doing. So now they censored rape to bring it back like it's new and call it the rape culture. Now we are going to be like, oh, that's the rape culture. Rape. They playing with time. No, it never went away. This man is saying these motherfuckers have created a rape culture. He's part of the system too, because I have to keep it real. He said Cassie getting 30 or 50 mil. Come on, okay. But he's telling it. The question is, what do you want done? They're out here keep worried about what the fuck is going on in Congo. Well, that's the Congo president's fault. Your own people in Congo, your Congo president sold you out in government. And what is happening is they're over there stealing them African children and selling them in Saudi Arabia. They're stealing babies from Kenya, Zimbabwe. They're stealing little black babies and selling them in the Middle East. But what you gonna do? You got all them Asians and all the motherfuckers over there in Africa. And what they really over there for, especially Egypt, is to buy the land up, get into the camel business, knowing that the camels, from what I heard, is a good source of meat and milk. Get in that business, buy land, and start to grow shit over there and start fucking up food over there. They're not over there just to be over there, just like in Somalia. And I believe there's a certain root that's like a drug and you get high. But we have our own issues here where they're kidnapping children and selling them. We have our own issues here where we have black men in turmoil. We have an issue here where there is an era of black boomers and Generation X men, I'm talking about them first, that have been sexually assaulted, raped, a gatekeeper, and basically groomed. And all these niggas are in the industry. And then now they're older and they're grooming the millennials and Gen Zs to do the same fucking thing. So we want to talk about that white party? Or do we want to talk about the grooming party? But Mr. Hassan Campbell is letting you know. This is more than meets the eye. And me going through this process with the person that I work with, both of the ladies, and looking at it from two perspectives of the cause and effect of it and the hidden energies underneath it and how trauma is hid. It's the same scenario with the person I work with. Appear normal, put her in the industry, get involved with different cult shit, and there you have the foster kid of it all, the poster child. And then they get triggered and snap off. A psychologist and psychiatrist cannot deal with that. That's why these fake ass people doing life coaching Life coaching is a form of fucking brainwashing. They're handlers. They know these people triggers. They know it's something wrong. They know. Because they are the payees of these motherfuckers. Who's the payee of Music Soul Child? Allegedly. I'm just talking. Mike Tyson was sexually assaulted. Sugar Ray Leonard was sexually assaulted. Do you really think Miss Billie Eilish wasn't sexually assaulted? All them white actresses. Paris Hilton basically told you how she got fucked up in the game. Nobody is off the table. They over here telling you Jimmy Carter's wife died at 96, but this nigga still being alive, still being kept alive. I said, what they extracting from him? The fuck? They making him live. Meanwhile, white people out here living their best life. They over there having a Miss Roper remembering a remembrance party from Three's Company. They wearing orange wigs. And I said, Ice Spice, where her hair is orange. Annie, Miss Roper, what the fuck is that? They're out here doing it. They out here having an Elaine dance contest from the Seinfeld. White people. We out here in trauma and turmoil. We out here protesting Z Money, talking about don't just drop your ass out of school. So what we doing? I was looking at the Real Housewives of Potomac. What the fuck rituals is going on with pickleball? What the fuck rituals is going on with not drinking anymore? What in the intellectual disabilities is going on with Married to the Medicine that Dr. G or Dr. was it Gregory is married a woman that looked like she's special needs, her and her fucking sister? What the fuck is that? Are they from the ranch? They set up and created a storyline from them for those young ladies. And Dr. Gregory married her? And what? He's under hypnosis. And he's a psychologist. I could clearly see it's something wrong. And to be honest with you, he must have liked that other, what's her name? Let me see here. Because she kind of looked like her. And Quad, what the fuck? If I can find it, let me see. Toya. Dr. Gregory's wife looked like Toya. Except his wife looked special needs. Like she's a mongoloid. You know? Yeah. And have y'all seen Lil Wayne? He looked like a geriatric infant. What's going on here? Taylor Swift not gonna be around that long. She couldn't breathe in 100-degree weather. Allegedly. What y'all think about Alabama? What's her name? Barker putting in lace fronts, touching black women's hair, black young girls' hair Travis Barker daughter. Now they didn't nickered her up, and she's a white girl. She got the nails and the hair going, and she doing her research and pulling black girls' energy and putting in. Is that what we doing? You have Machine Gun Kelly talking about he has anxiety. I need Wendy from the Real Housewives of Potomac to remove herself off that show. They have basically conditioned her and mounted an energy on top of her to be dingy. I have a question. Why are people buying this energy from Gwyneth Paltrow and her products? I don't trust anybody that tell me to brush my arm. I am not an animal and I don't believe in bestiality. And she drinks bone marrow. Makes you wonder about the energies of bone marrow, because they say that bone marrow in children is a different type of energy that helps with youth. She has a line called Goop. My son said, I really believe that Northwest is dyslexic and she wasn't supposed to let the cat out the bag. And my son said, I think Kim Kardashian is dyslexic. I said, why? He said, have you ever really peeped her? I said, is that why she couldn't pass the bar for a minute? He said, 7 Japanese techniques to overcome laziness. None of this. A lot of Congress people are just abruptly retiring and resigning. And this person believes that it might be connected to Puff Daddy. He says all that shit is fake. In my opinion, Cassie been paid when she left him. This old news, they fucking with time. His time is up. So pull this. That's why there's an issue. Have you seen Keke White? She done shaved her head. So we'll be waiting for her to malfunction and rise up. Keke Palmer accuses Darius Jackson of domestic violence and files for restraining order. She cap. Cardi B and Keke Palmer are supposed to be doing something together. People want a show with them. Hell no. We are brain damaged enough in cyber magic. We need no more spell work. Do you know they have a protection, an election protection hotline? Did you know Esther Rowland from Good Times had a psychic hotline? I didn't. She had one in the 80s. You heard about Kanye West being in the desert somewhere trying to do new music. Niggas out here stealing oxtails. I don't understand what's going on. Did you know Kool Moe Dee was an underrated rapper? And why in the 80s did niggas wear gloves? What did that mean? Rappers. We out here listening to Andre 3000 playing the flute and all of this weird ass music. Go listen to the Mantronics. You want to listen to some Spellwork, go listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, especially if you're from California. Did you see John Legend's Friends Thanksgiving? That's some white ass shit. That's the new boule and subculture. I don't go anywhere that makes fucking what is it called, string bean casserole. I don't know if I can go somewhere and I can't even pronounce cheese. The cheese black platter. I'm an uninvited guest. I can't even pronounce that right. I don't want to go anywhere and you making me a mock drink. I want some fucking alcohol. They up there making vegan fucking carrot cake. What the hell is that? John Legend up there pretending like he's a thespian. That was some weird ass shit. I told you, don't be laughing at me because I can't pronounce your cheese. You know what I'm talking about, that cheese platter with the salami. I'm just going to say cheese platter. But you're not sophisticated. I said cheese platter. John Legend and Ozma bin Laden niece, Wafa, Dufar, whatever, bin Laden niece, apparently she's a music writer. Told you about these Middle Easterns and their money. And did bin Laden really exist? Patti LaBelle, being petty as fuck, then called Hennessy Chardonnay. I told you guys fucking around with that Patti LaBelle when Cardi B was cutting up at her house. Patti LaBelle knew exactly what she was saying when calling her Chardonnay. Got him. Allegedly, they're trying to say Lady Gaga and Beyonce may do a Thelma and Louise. Please don't. Now they're trying to say that Cassie may press charges against Puff Daddy for what? Allegedly, Will Smith then beat the brakes off of Jada Pinkett, and she had to get her cheeks done. Bullshit. She beat his ass. He didn't beat her ass. She beat his ass. We're gonna stop that. And if he did hit her, it's probably some kind of controlling mechanism to control her energy. But I don't believe it. I believe she beat his ass. Y'all want to be on these realities, but you don't understand. Extreme weight loss star Brandy Milroy, 350 pounds, found dead in a Chipotle parking lot, always to insult a black woman. She couldn't even die at, somewhere else. She had to die 350 pounds allegedly at fucking Chipotle. So I guess she ate herself to death at that Chipotle, that fake ass meat allegedly. That's not good. They just any kind of way trying to insult a fat woman. People are talking about Solange and put JT under ritual. If that was Solange, shit, we don't know what's going on her. So is she a gatekeeper now, a groomer? Allegedly. We just talking the spell works that's going on in his universal soul, right? Anyway. This is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.